The Cillier Collective's sleek medical frigate sliced through the smoky sky above the shattered landscape of Acris Prime. Below, the echoes of distant gunfire and explosions punctuated the dusk like a savage heartbeat. The battlefield was a chaotic expanse of craters, twisted metal, and shattered trees, littered with fallen soldiers from two warring factions. Inside the ship's softly glowing medbay, a team of alien healers prepared to deploy their advanced medical equipment. Their translucent skin shimmered faintly under the cool blue lights. Their elongated fingers moved with practiced precision over holographic displays. For centuries, the Cillier had been renowned galaxy-wide for their mastery of healing. Their bio-nanotech treatments could mend broken bones and regenerate damaged organs in minutes. They expected this mission to be no different. Reports say, "Human casualties are high," said Navara, the lead healer, her voice calm but tinged with concern. "But their resilience, it's remarkable, even for a species so primitive." Her second-in-command, Relos, nodded. "Their biology is not well understood by the collective, but this mission is simple. Heal all, without bias." As the ship landed with a muted thud on a barren clearing near the front lines, the Cillier team quickly assembled their portable medical tent, a gleaming structure of seamless alloys and softly glowing panels, designed for rapid deployment and sterile environments. They expected to find orderly triage, calm patients, and efficient healing. They were wrong. From the moment they stepped onto the blood-soaked earth, the air was thick with tension, sweat, and the scent of burnt ozone. The distant crackle of gunfire never ceased. Human soldiers ran past, some limping, others carrying wounded comrades, faces smeared with dirt and blood, eyes sharp with exhaustion and fierce determination. A tall human in makeshift armor approached the alien healers, rifle slung over his shoulder, but his gaze was wary rather than hostile. "You're the healers. We've been waiting," he said, voice rough but steady. "Welcome to hell." Navara gestured politely, her tone formal. "We come with no weapons, only aid." The human nodded, stepping aside. "Good, we could use it." Inside the tent, the alien healers found a scene that challenged everything they believed about medicine and war. The human medical team worked in harsh urgency, their hands steady despite the chaos. They applied bandages soaked in antiseptic, administered injections from battered syringes, and pulled wounded soldiers out of the burning wreckage with raw strength. There was no sterile calm here, only survival. A young human medic barked orders. "Get the morphine. We've got a man with a compound fracture in Bay 3. Move it." The Cillier were fascinated and horrified. One of their healers, Varen, tried to activate a healing drone designed to repair wounds with nanobots, but the soldier's body convulsed violently, rejecting the treatment. The human beside him gritted his teeth and muttered, "No fancy tech's gonna fix this fast enough. We'll do it the old way." Relos exchanged a glance with Navara. They had anticipated a fragile, compliant species, but these humans fought through pain and refused to surrender to injury. Hours passed, and the alien healers witnessed acts of brutal resilience. A soldier with a shattered arm clenched his fists and refused sedation. "I'm not done fighting," he growled. Nearby, a medic tore strips of cloth to stop bleeding from a grievous neck wound, her face pale but determined. Outside, a sudden barrage shook the camp. Explosions flung debris and dust into the air. The humans barely flinched, running towards danger rather than away. Navara felt a strange mixture of awe and unease. Late into the night, as the medical tent hummed with the low murmur of voices and the quiet beep of monitors, an alien healer stood near the tent's entrance, watching a human soldier stubbornly refuse evacuation despite a deep leg wound that threatened his life. The soldier's jaw was clenched, eyes blazing with defiance. "I'm not leaving my brothers behind," he said simply. Navara felt an unfamiliar pang, something deeper than scientific curiosity. This was more than biology. This was will, fire, something the collective had never encountered on this scale. "We will learn much here," she whispered to herself. The battle outside raged on, but inside the tent, something new was beginning. a fragile bridge between alien technology and human spirit, between cold science and fierce survival, and the Cillier healers didn't yet know that what they would find inside this human medical tent would change everything. The alien healers had expected a clean, sterile environment, something befitting their clinical methods and advanced technology. Instead, the human medical tent was a swirling storm of noise, urgency, and raw emotion. Fluorescent lamps hung from the canvas ceiling, casting stark light on bloodied stretchers and hastily assembled triage stations. The air was thick with the acrid tang of antiseptics mixed with sweat and dust. Human medics moved like well-trained hawks, sharp eyes darting from patient to patient, voices clipped and commanding. The Cillier felt a strange dissonance, alien precision amid human chaos. Navarra followed closely as a human medic. A woman with a streak of gray in her dark hair and fierce eyes barked orders. "We've got shrapnel in the abdomen, set him up. For emergency surgery, I need IV lines and pain control now. And keep him talking." The alien healers watched in fascination. This was no peaceful healing sanctuary. It was a battlefield within a battlefield, where every second mattered, and the fragile thread between life and death was fought for with grit and desperation. One of the alien nurses, Varen, stepped forward cautiously, offering a small vial of a shimmering gel designed to accelerate tissue repair. The human medic paused, glaring. "This isn't some luxury clinic," she snapped. "We don't have time for fairy dust. If you want to help, learn to keep up." Varen recoiled, surprised by the sharpness of the rebuke. The alien's calm, practiced demeanor was shaken by the harsh reality around her. Rilos, observing quietly, stepped in with a diplomatic tone. "We mean no disrespect. Our technology can accelerate healing beyond what you can do here. Allow us to assist." The human medic's eyes narrowed. Assisting means knowing when to trust the tools and when to rely on grit. Out here, it's not about what tech can do. It's about what people will do. Navarra watched the exchange closely, sensing the unspoken truth in the medic's words. The humans were raw, imperfect, but their toughness came from something deeper than equipment or protocols. It was survival against impossible odds. Suddenly, a young soldier was rushed into the tent, clutching his side and coughing up blood. The medics sprang into action, slapping on pressure dressings, yelling for more supplies. The aliens moved to help, but the human medics directed them sharply. "Hold, step back. He's got a pneumothorax. Needle decompression, now." Navarra watched as the human medic, with hands steady despite shaking, plunged a long needle into the soldier's chest, releasing trapped air. The soldier gasped, relief flooding his face. The aliens had no equivalent procedure in their arsenal, or if they did, they rarely used it in such desperate, last-second ways. Later, Varen quietly approached the human medic who was scrubbing blood off her hands with a rag. "Your methods, they are not as advanced as ours, yet they work." The medic gave a tired, wry smile. "Sometimes the best tools are the ones that don't need batteries or algorithms. It's knowing when to use them that counts." Rilos nodded. "You have a resilience we have not seen. We seek to understand." The medic looked at them, her eyes softening for a moment. "Then watch closely. This isn't science fiction. It's life and death." That night, as the alien healers rested in a separate chamber, they could still hear the distant cries and urgent shouts from the human tent. The Cillier had never experienced war up close. Their conflicts were usually distant and clinical, fought with precision and little bloodshed. But here, the human will to survive roared louder than any weapon. A wounded soldier was carried in, screaming in agony. The human medics' voices rose, not with panic but with fierce determination. They talked to the soldier like he was more than just a patient, like he was a brother. Navarra studied the scene through the translucent walls of their quarters. Her heart, or whatever organ closest to it was called, clenched. These humans, so flawed, so stubborn, so terrifyingly alive, were unlike any species she had healed before. In the quiet moments between calls, Varen shared her observations with the others. Their bodies reject some of our treatments. Their biology is unpredictable. But their mental strength, Raylos added, seems to trigger physical responses we do not understand. Navarra nodded thoughtfully. We must learn from them, not just treat them. Before dawn, a low murmur rose from the human tent, a soldier softly singing an old human song, a ritual to calm the mind and body. It was a haunting sound, raw and powerful, echoing over the ragged field. Varen listened, mesmerized. They use their voices to heal, to fight pain. This is unlike any medicine, Navarra whispered. We came here to teach. Perhaps we must also come to learn. As the first light of morning crept over the horizon, the alien healers prepared to enter the tent again, not just as outsiders with superior technology, but as students of a species whose strength was something far greater than science alone. The morning sun rose pale and tired over the war-torn field of Acris Prime. Inside the human medical tent, the sounds of battle had not quieted. If anything, they seemed louder, more urgent. The alien healers entered, their movements purposeful, but cautious, knowing the fragility and ferocity waiting within. Navarra's gaze swept over the chaotic triage area. Human medics shouted orders, their voices a mix of desperation and steely resolve. Soldiers with shattered limbs, gaping wounds, and bloodied faces were everywhere, some moaning softly, others staring blankly into the distance, and a few gritting, their teeth in silent defiance. Raylos approached a man with a severe chest wound, his breathing ragged. The alien healer carefully activated a healing drone, which hummed softly as it hovered over the injured soldier's body, emitting a faint, blue light. But almost immediately, the soldier's muscles tensed, eyes snapping open wide in pain and panic. His body convulsed violently as the drone's nanobots were rejected. Something's wrong, Varen said, stepping forward with a worried frown. The human medic standing nearby shook his head. His body's fighting your tech like it's poison. Happens a lot. Humans aren't just meat machines. Navarra's fingers tightened around her wrist communicator. Why? Their biology should respond to nanotech. Our tests showed compatibility. The medic gave a bitter chuckle. Biology's only part of it, the rest is in here. He tapped his temple. The will to live, pain tolerance, how badly they want to keep breathing. Raylos frowned. This defies our medical science. In the corner, a young soldier, barely older than a boy, sat on a cot, his arm mangled and bleeding. He was muttering softly, closing his eyes as if fighting an unseen battle. Varen moved closer, curious. What are you doing? She asked gently. The soldier's eyes fluttered open. Focusing, breathing. My mind, I can make it hurt less. The alien healer tilted her head, intrigued. You are controlling your pain? He nodded. My grandfather taught me. When my arm was blown off, I couldn't lose hope. Navarra stepped forward. Can you teach us this technique? The soldier smiled faintly. Maybe, but it's not just breathing. It's believing. Raylos exchanged a glance with Navarra. This was unfamiliar territory, a healing method rooted not in technology but in mental discipline and emotional strength. Something the Ciliar healers had only theorized, never seen applied so clearly. Over the next few hours, the alien team observed more cases like this, patients whose bodies refused certain treatments but responded dramatically when they were emotionally engaged or mentally focused on recovery. The line between mind and body, so clear in Ciliar science, blurred in the human condition. A medic burst into the tent, dragging in a heavily wounded soldier. The man's face was pale, his breathing shallow. Navarra ordered an immediate scan. The Ciliar machines detected rapid cell degradation, but then, almost inexplicably, the damage began to slow. What's happening? Varen whispered. The human medic leaned close to the soldier's ear. Stay with us, brother. You've got people waiting for you. The soldier's eyes fluttered open, and he clenched his jaw, drawing in a ragged breath. Slowly, his body began to respond, wounds closing slightly, color returning to his skin. Relos looked to Navarra. This is not mere biology. The human body responds to their own hope and determination, physical regeneration accelerated by willpower. Navarra's mind raced. Our technology can treat symptoms, but humans, they can fight the damage itself. This will change everything. Later, exhausted but determined, Navarra convened her team. We must adjust our approach. We cannot rely on technology alone here. We need to understand the connection between mind and body. Varen nodded. It's a holistic healing, emotional and physiological. Relos frowned thoughtfully. We may need to study their mental techniques, not just their biology. Navarra agreed. We came to teach, but now we must learn. Just then, an alarm blared outside. A new wave of attacks was imminent. The human medics sprang into action, calling the alien healers to help triage the incoming wounded. As they prepared, Navarra took one last look at the young soldier practicing his breathing exercises. His face was pale, but his eyes burned with fierce determination. Whatever it takes, she murmured. We will find a way to heal this species. They are unlike any we've encountered. The battle outside roared again, but inside the human medical tent, a new battle was being fought. The struggle to understand the human spirit and its extraordinary power to heal against all odds. Night had settled over the battered battlefield, cloaking the scarred earth in shadows and silence. Inside the human medical tent, the energy was still electric. Wounded soldiers murmured, medics hurried, and distant gunfire rumbled like a constant heartbeat. The Celiar healers had never encountered a war zone this raw, this visceral. Navarra sat quietly near the entrance, watching the human medics with growing fascination. Despite their exhaustion, they worked with fierce determination, improvising treatments and pushing the limits of their endurance. Their hands were steady, but it was their spirits that intrigued her most. Varen, one of the younger alien healers, moved with equal curiosity, drawn toward a small corner where a young soldier sat cross-legged on the ground. His eyes were closed, lips barely moving. The soldier's breathing was slow and deliberate, in stark contrast to the chaos around him. What is he doing? Varen whispered, stepping closer. A nearby human medic glanced over, surprised to see an alien so close to the wounded. That? It's meditation, something we do to control pain and calm the mind. Varen's antennae twitched in intrigue. Meditation? A biological response initiated by mental focus? She crouched down, observing the soldier. His tense face relaxed, his ragged breathing steadied, and the shallow wound on his arm seemed to throb less. Relos approached quietly. This contradicts everything we know. Mental states affecting physical healing. It's unheard of at this scale. Navarra nodded. It's as if their minds have a direct influence on their body's healing processes. Suddenly, the soldier's eyes snapped open. Hey, he said softly. You're watching? Varen smiled gently. Yes, can you teach us? The soldier hesitated, then nodded. It's simple, but it's hard. You have to control your breathing, slow your heart, focus on the part that hurts, and believe you can fix it. Navarra took notes silently, realizing this was a healing technique far removed from their nanobots and gene therapy. This was primal, elemental, a force born from survival instinct and the will to live. Over the next few hours, the Celiar healers observed more soldiers using similar methods, focused breathing, chanting quietly, even singing. It wasn't just pain management. It seemed to accelerate actual physical healing. Varen recorded pulse rates dropping, inflammation reducing, wounds beginning to close faster. Back in their makeshift lab, the alien scientists analyzed the data with growing excitement and confusion. Their bodies release unique enzymes and hormones when triggered by mental focus, one Celiar researcher explained. Adrenaline, endorphins, cortisol, all interacting in complex ways to speed cellular repair. Relos leaned over the console. It's a biological feedback loop powered by belief and determination. Their minds are unlocking healing pathways we never thought possible. Navarra's mind raced with implications. This is more than resilience, it's an evolutionary advantage. That evening, Navarra requested a private conversation with the human medic who had first explained the meditation technique, Lieutenant Sarah Vaughn, a hardened veteran with eyes that had seen too much war. In the quiet corner of the tent away from the rush, Navarra asked, "How did your people discover this method?" Sarah's gaze was steady, haunted but proud. "We didn't have much choice. Out here, tech breaks, medics get killed, you learn to fight pain and keep going because if you don't, you die. It's in our blood, the fire to survive." She paused. "Our ancestors called it the fire within. It's more than mind over matter, it's soul, the drive that keeps you alive when everything else fails." Navarra felt a shiver run through her. "Your spirit, it is healing you." Sarah smiled faintly. "Yeah, we're tougher than we look." That night, as the tent's dim lights flickered, Navarra and her team tried integrating these human techniques with their own treatments. They guided patients through breathing exercises before deploying their bio-nanobots, and the results were startling. Rejection rates dropped, recovery accelerated. Varen looked at Navarra. "The humans have taught us that healing is not just physical. It is mental, emotional, even spiritual." Navarra nodded slowly. "We came to bring aid, but we are the ones who have much to learn." Outside, the battle raged on, but inside, the human medical tent, a new kind of healing was taking root. One forged in pain, willpower, and an unyielding fire that no technology alone could replicate. The Ciliar healers were beginning to understand that in humanity, they had found not just patients to heal, but a force of nature that could change everything. The war raged on beyond the confines of the medical tent, but inside, a profound transformation was quietly unfolding. The alien healers, once detached observers of human frailty, were now captivated witnesses to the indomitable spirit that infused every wounded soldier and medic. Navarra stood at the center of the tent, surrounded by wounded men and women whose injuries ranged from deep lacerations to shattered bones. She adjusted the settings on her handheld nanobot dispenser, a device designed to accelerate cellular regeneration. But instead of simply activating the machine and letting it do its work, Navarra hesitated. She recalled the lessons learned from Lieutenant Sarah Vaughn and the young soldiers practicing meditation and breathing exercises. "Breathe deeply," Navarra instructed softly, surprising her human audience. "Focus on your injuries. Imagine them closing, healing." A few soldiers exchanged wary looks, unused to such an alien approach, but hunger for recovery outweighed skepticism, and slowly they obeyed. Navarra's nanobots deployed, and she watched with growing awe as the healing process accelerated far beyond what technology alone had ever achieved. The wounds seemed to knit together faster, the soldiers' grimaces softened, and their strength returned more quickly. Relos moved closer, whispering, "It's as if their belief feeds the healing process, an energy beyond physical science." "Yes," Navarra replied, "a synergy of mind and body, unlike anything the Ciliar Collective has seen." That evening, a sudden explosion rocked the tent's perimeter. The war was closing in again. "We need more hands," Sarah called out. "Prepare for casualties." The alien healers leapt into action alongside the human medics, setting up triage stations and moving wounded soldiers with practiced efficiency. But as the wounded poured in, many with devastating injuries, a new challenge arose. Some soldiers, despite desperate treatment, were slipping beyond the threshold of survival. A young soldier with a deep chest wound was rushed in, eyes fluttering, breaths shallow. The medics stabilized him with what supplies they had, but the prognosis was grim. Navarra stepped forward, placing her hands gently on his chest. The healing drones hummed softly, emitting pulses of nanobots. The soldier's body fought fiercely, but fatigue and trauma weighed heavy. Suddenly, the soldier's eyes snapped open and he let out a ragged, defiant breath. "I'm not done yet," he whispered. Varen, watching intently, saw the mental strength ripple through the soldier's muscles. Slowly, his vital signs began to stabilize. The healing nanobots seemed to respond not just to his body's chemistry, but to his will to survive. The tent hushed, everyone caught in a fragile moment between life and death. Sarah stepped forward, her voice low but steady. That's the human spirit. It doesn't just heal the body, it fights back. Nivara's heart, or the closest thing to it in her translucent chest, quickened. This was more than medicine. It was a force they could harness. Days passed and the alien healers began to incorporate mental conditioning into their treatments. Soldiers were taught to harness their inner fire through breathing, meditation, and focus. The results were undeniable. Recovery times shortened, resistance to infection improved, and spirits lifted. But the war was unforgiving. The human medical tent was stretched to its limits, and not every soldier could be saved. One evening, as the stars glittered coldly overhead, a new patient arrived. A battle-scarred commander, his body riddled with shrapnel and burns. His eyes were sharp and calculating despite his injuries. Sarah introduced him as Commander Jarek, a man whose leadership had turned the tide in several skirmishes. Nivara approached cautiously. "Your wounds are severe, but your will is strong." Jarek gave a faint, grim smile. "The war isn't over yet. Neither am I." The alien healers worked tirelessly, deploying every available technology and technique, combined with the mental conditioning learned from the humans. Slowly, the commander's condition improved, but his recovery was punctuated by moments of pain and frustration. During a rare quiet moment, Jarek spoke to Nivara. "You've taught us a lot, but we have much to teach you." Nivara nodded. "Our cultures are different, but our goals are the same: to survive, to heal." He looked her in the eyes. "Remember this, healer. Technology alone doesn't win wars. It's the human will that turns the tide." As the night deepened, Nivara felt a new sense of purpose. She had come to this war-torn planet as a healer from a distant civilization, confident in her knowledge and technology. But now, she understood that the greatest weapon wasn't in her tools or machines. It was in the fierce, unbreakable spirit of the humans she had been sent to heal. Outside the tent, the battle still raged, but inside, a quiet revolution of healing had taken hold, one born of pain, defiance, and an unyielding hope that no war, no wound, could extinguish. Days blurred into nights inside the human medical tent, yet the alien healers felt themselves growing closer to the pulse of humanity. Every breath, every whispered word, and every defiant heartbeat carved deeper meaning into their mission. Nivara stood near a battered table cluttered with medical equipment, reviewing patient data with Raylos and Varen. The numbers were promising. Recovery rates were improving, wounds healing faster, but the war outside was unforgiving. The influx of wounded showed no sign of slowing. "Technology combined with mental conditioning is effective," Varen observed, her antennae twitching thoughtfully. "But there's something else. Something we're missing." Raylos frowned. "Yes, the data shows spikes of stress hormones inconsistent with injury severity. Their bodies are fighting invisible enemies." Nivara's mind raced. Psychological trauma. Sarah Vaughn approached, overhearing their conversation. "You're talking about what we call combat stress, or PTSD. It's not just wounds and broken bones. It's what the mind suffers in battle." Nivara nodded. "We have not accounted for that. Healing the body is not enough if the mind remains shattered." Sarah glanced toward the rows of cots where soldiers lay awake in the dark, eyes staring at nothing. Many of these men and women come back from the front lines with nightmares, anxiety, panic, sometimes worse than their injuries. Varen stepped forward, her voice gentle. "Is there a way you heal that?" Sarah sighed. "We try. Talk therapy, rest, sometimes medication. But the wounds of the mind don't heal as easily as flesh." Nivara's thoughts swirled. "We must help them in ways beyond the physical. We must learn to heal what cannot be seen." That night, Nivara gathered her team. "Tomorrow we will begin studying the mental trauma of these soldiers. We will attempt to integrate neurological treatments with your psychological care. Raylos looked uneasy. It is risky. Our technology is designed for physical repair, not emotional healing. But if we fail to address it, Nivara said, firmly, our patients will continue to suffer and their bodies will not fully recover. The following morning, the alien healers set up a quiet room away from the chaos. Volunteers from the soldiers were hesitant but willing, driven by desperation to find relief. Nivara and Varen gently applied advanced neuroscanners, devices that could map brain activity in real time. The soldiers were encouraged to share their stories to describe their fears and memories. The data was staggering. Neural pathways showed intense, erratic firing in areas related to fear and trauma. Memories replayed like unrelenting ghosts, and the soldiers' bodies responded with physical symptoms, elevated heart rates, muscle tension, and even involuntary tremors. It's a battle inside their minds, Varen whispered. Worse than any wound we can see. Nivara resolved to combine their healing technology with human psychological methods. Using low-frequency neuromodulation, the ciliar devices gently soothed the soldiers' brains, easing the firing patterns of trauma. Simultaneously, human counselors worked alongside, guiding soldiers through their fears, helping them confront memories rather than run from them. Slowly, hope began to seep back into the tent. Soldiers who had spent nights in restless terror found sleep returning. Panic attacks lessened. Minds that once screamed in silent agony softened. One soldier, a young man named Thomas, who had refused treatment for weeks, finally agreed to the combined therapy. Days later, his eyes shone with relief, and for the first time since arriving, he smiled. This is, something new, Thomas said softly. I feel like I'm not fighting myself anymore. Sarah looked at Nivara with quiet gratitude. You're doing more than healing flesh, you're helping them reclaim their humanity. Nivara smiled, though her heart ached with the weight of so many still in pain. It's a start, but we must keep pushing. As word spread of the alien healers' new methods, more soldiers volunteered. The human medics embraced the collaboration, and the medical tent became a beacon of hope amid the darkness. Yet outside the tent, the war continued its merciless course. New battles loomed, new injuries awaited, and the line between life and death grew thinner every day. One night, as the tent settled into uneasy quiet, Nivara stood alone beneath the stars, staring at the scarred landscape. The sounds of distant gunfire and explosions punctuated the silence like a grim lullaby. She realized then that healing was not just a science or a practice. It was a journey, a profound dialogue between flesh, mind, and spirit. And for the first time, Nivara understood. The true battle was not only against enemy forces but against despair itself. The atmosphere inside the medical tent shifted with each passing day, evolving from tense urgency to something quieter but no less intense. A shared determination that transcended species, backgrounds, and beliefs. Nivara watched this with a mixture of awe and humility. The humans were teaching her, just as much as she and her team were aiding them. The war raged beyond the thin canvas walls, but inside the tent, an unlikely fellowship was blossoming. One afternoon, Nivara found herself sitting beside Lieutenant Sarah Vaughn, both weary from the relentless pace of the past weeks. Outside, muted explosions still echoed faintly, but for a moment the world felt still. I never thought I'd learn so much from aliens, Sarah said, her voice soft but steady. Especially about the mind. We've always relied on grit and guts, not tech. Nivara smiled faintly. And I never imagined that healing could be as much about spirit and resolve as about biology and nanobots. Sarah reached out, gripping Nivara's arm in a rare gesture of camaraderie. You're part of our fight now, more than just healers. You've shown us a new kind of hope. That hope was tested swiftly. A new wave of casualties arrived in the tent, including a group of young soldiers barely out of training, their faces pale with fear and shock. Among them was a boy no older than 15, his leg mangled and his spirit nearly broken. Nivara knelt beside him, her voice gentle. You are not alone. We will help you. The boy's eyes met hers, wide and haunted. I don't want to die, he whispered. Sarah placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. None of us do, but you're stronger than you think. Nivara deployed the healing drones, while Varen guided the boy through breathing exercises learned from other soldiers. Slowly, color returned to his face and the tremors eased. Watching this, Nivara felt something deep within her, a profound respect for human resilience. It was not just physical strength, but the courage to face fear head-on, to hold on even when the future was uncertain. Days later, as the boy's condition stabilized, word came that a ceasefire was being negotiated, fragile but real. The news was met with cautious relief, but the medical tent remained a place of vigilance. Nivara and her team continued their work, knowing the scars of war, both visible and invisible, would linger long after the guns fell silent. One evening, as the ceasefire took hold, Nivara gathered her team for a final review. We came here to heal bodies, she said quietly, but what we have witnessed is something far greater. Raylos nodded. The human will to survive, their mental strength, it is a force beyond our understanding. Varen added, we must carry this knowledge back to the collective. It will change how we heal. Sarah joined them, her face lined with exhaustion but glowing with gratitude. You've saved more than lives here. You've given us new hope. Nivara looked around the tent, at the exhausted but hopeful faces of humans and aliens alike. Healing is not just about curing wounds, it's about nurturing the fire inside, the will to live, to fight, and to hope. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Nivara felt a quiet certainty. The war was far from over, and the challenges ahead would be many. But together, human and Celiar healers had forged something stronger than technology or biology. Alone, a bond born in fire, tested in pain, and sustained by the unbreakable spirit of life. The story of this unlikely alliance was only beginning. The ceasefire was fragile but held, the battlefield quiet for the first time in weeks. Inside the human medical tent, the atmosphere had shifted from frantic urgency to cautious hope. The long nights of endless treatment and relentless fighting gave way to moments of reflection and healing. Nivara stood near the entrance, watching, as human medics and Celiar healers worked side by side, sharing tools, techniques, and stories. The alien healer's advanced nanobots still hummed quietly, but now paired with the humans' deep-rooted rituals of meditation, storytelling, and silent courage. The transformation was undeniable. Soldiers who once staggered in with hopeless eyes now walked out steady, their bodies mended and their minds less burdened. The human capacity for pain was extraordinary, but their ability to hope in the darkest hour was what truly amazed Nivara. Lieutenant Sarah Vaughn approached, a rare softness in her expression. You know, she said, before you came, we thought healing was just about science and grit. But it's something more, something you can't always measure. Nivara nodded. It is the will to live, the spark inside that no wound can extinguish. Sarah looked around the tent, the mingling of species, cultures, and methods, and smiled. We fought for survival. You came to heal. Together we found something stronger. The Celiar healers prepared to depart. Their mission had evolved beyond simple aid. They carried with them new understanding and respect for humanity's unyielding spirit. As the convoy loaded supplies and patience, Nivara lingered, reluctant to leave the tent that had become a crucible for change. Commander. Yarrick, now fully recovered and walking with steady confidence, approached her. Your people think of healing as a science. We know it's an art, and a battle. You taught us, and we taught you. Nivara smiled. Our worlds are not so different, both seeking life, hope, and peace. He extended a hand. Until we meet again, healer. As the Celiar vessels lifted off, the human medical team stood watching, a silent promise passing between them. The war might rage on beyond the horizon, but here, In this tent of healing, something lasting had been born. A bridge between species, a testament to resilience, and a beacon of hope. Nivara watched the stars shimmer above, feeling the fire within herself. The same fire she had seen in every human she'd treated. It was a fire that technology could never replicate, a force that transcended biology, a testament to the power of life itself. In that quiet moment, she understood the true meaning of healing, not just to mend bodies, but to rekindle hope, to nurture courage, and to honor the indomitable spirit that defines all life. The universe was vast and often cruel, but within its endless expanse, the spark of humanity shone bright, a light the Celiar healers would carry back to their people, forever changed,